Hey guys, welcome back. And today we have a very special guest. We've got the mock draft guy here on the channel. He's been here a few times. He was here for our quarterly reports. Unfortunately, we missed the midway season, but don't worry, we will be coming back for week 12. But we're doing a mock draft together. He does these every week on his channel. Be sure to go check him out. I'll leave his link down in the description below. Is there anything you want to say before we get this started?
Yeah, one thing, first off, I'm excited that we finally get to do this. We were talking about it for a couple weeks now, at least. Another thing too, maybe it's just really directed at you. Might sound sappy. I don't really care, but the growth that you've shown over the past, I don't know how many months we've known each other. Let's just say 10. We've done a lot of stuff together so far, and I'm so proud of the growth of your second channel and the growth of you yourself. You really turned into something special, and I'm happy that I'm here to at least try and help you. You might have even surpassed me in your content creating at this point. So it's great to see, man. I'm really happy
Really
for you.
appreciate that. But um, we're going to do a mock draft. You guys know how these work. I'm going to have the odds. He's going to have the evens. And so I get the number one pick here. And this is going to be very interesting. I wanted to do something a little bit different today. Um, the Texans, obviously, they need a lot on their team. They could use some weapons. They could use some pass rush help. And quarterback, it says is their biggest need. I still like Davis Mills. I think given another year, he could still be the guy potentially. But I'm going to take defensive lineman Jalen Carter with the number one overall pick for the Houston Texans. Now, there's a couple of reasons I want to do this. First of all, if you look at that interior defensive line, Roy Lopez, Malik Collins, those guys aren't going to get it done. Those can't be your top two interior defensive linemen on a really good team. Secondly, they have another first round pick within the top 10. I think there's still a chance you could get one of those three quarterbacks fall to you at number 9, and you're still set. This is a deep quarterback class. I think Jalen Carter is the best player in this draft. And the Texans are not in a position where they can really draft for needs. I think you take best player available here, and that's why I'm taking Jalen Carter at number 1.
Yeah, I mean, you know how much of a fan of Jalen Carter I am. I don't know if your viewers know exactly just how much of a fan I am, but he's probably one of the best, if not the best, defensive prospects I've ever seen. He's fantastic. I think what you say is 100% right, and I have to feel like a lot of Houston Texans fans actually might agree with you. I've gotten some backlash for taking Bryce Young with the first overall pick in some videos. A lot of people think that another year of Davis Mills might be upon us, and like you said, they have that second first round pick. Not out of the realm of possibility that they can get one of those, even top 4 quarterbacks if you consider Hendon Hooker, a top 4 quarterback. But I got the Vegas Raiders here, and I'm gonna have to go with C.J. Stroud with this second overall pick. And the reason why is I will full disclaimer. I think Bryce Young is a little bit of a better prospect than C.J. Stroud. I just think that the way that C.J. Stroud throws the ball and he carries himself on offense is more of the Raiders style than Bryce Young. And he's also the bigger of the quarterbacks as well. And also Derek Carr, they finally have an out with the Derek Carr contract. And before we started recording, we were talking about the financial situation of the Las Vegas Raiders, and it is not good. I don't think that there's any way after this season that the Raiders could even afford to keep Derek Carr. So I think they're going to be in the market for a cheap franchise type quarterback, and I think that that's CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I'm a Bryce Young guy myself. CJ Stroud, though, he definitely has looked fantastic. A lot of really great size. I do think he would fit a little bit better in that Vegas offense than maybe Bryce Young would. But Carolina at number 3, and this is the easiest pick of the draft here. It's Bryce Young. They need a quarterback desperately. They've been looking for that franchise guy really since the end of the Cam Newton era towards 2017. They haven't really found that piece that can be the staple of that offense. And I think Bryce Young is that guy. I think he's a great athlete, mobile, great arm. He's a little undersized. He's a bit on the smaller side, but we've seen guys like Russ and Kyler Murray succeed in the league. And I think he is going to thrive. They've got a better offensive line than they have had in years past. They've got weapons there and DJ Moore. And then their run game has been surprisingly good since Christian McCaffrey was traded. And a good defense. I think this is a good situation for Bryce Young. So I've got him going at number 3.
Yeah, I don't hate that pick at all. I think that there is one pick that's going to be easier to make, and that's probably the next one. But I definitely agree with you there. I think Bryce Young is, I mean, listen, all 3 quarterbacks on the roster, besides for Matt Corral, are free agents, and none of them are worth bringing back. It's a no-brainer for me. I'm going to have to agree with you. Then this is the easiest pick in the entire draft. And if Will Anderson Jr. is there at number 4, you got to take him if you're the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, how lucky are the Philadelphia Eagles in this situation where they are the best? Well, I mean, I don't know if you still consider them the best team in football, but one of the best teams in football. They somehow have a top 5 pick because of the New Orleans Saints. I mean, it's just incredible. They're in a great space here. They have an aging defensive end in Brandon Graham. He's 34 years old. And they also just traded for Robert Quinn, who was under contract for 2 years, but he did void the last 2 years of that contract. So he will be a free agent after this year as well. And if you guys know, as well as I do, Philadelphia loves to rotate their pass rushers. So Will Anderson will get a ton of time in there, and I think that he would thrive.
Yeah, Will Anderson, for a majority of the season, was my number 1 prospect on the board, and then Jalen Carter just started playing out of his mind. Will Anderson's still my number 2 guy, though. I think he is a fantastic player. There's not many plays where he's not putting pressure on the quarterback. He's doing some incredible things, and you compared him to Micah Parsons, I believe, in your player profile. I see that a lot, and if the Eagles could get their own version of Micah Parsons to go up against the Cowboys, that would be really good for them. But moving on to the Jaguars at 5, I think the top 4 picks, no matter what order you have them in, those are probably going to be the top 4 as of right now.
I would think so.
Kind of where the draft starts with the Jaguars at number 5. There's a lot that they could do. Wide receivers, the number 1 team need. I think they could use another weapon, but I'm not going to take one here at 5. They've got Calvin Ridley coming in next year, who I think is going to be huge for them. And they've still got Christian Kirk and guys like that. So I'm probably going to go with an offensive lineman here. I think right tackle is a position they could really address. I know Skoronski, you've talked about it. He would thrive more as a guard. I'm going to take Paris Johnson here. I think he is the best tackle prospect. And I think he would fit well. You could play him at left tackle or right tackle, but the right side seems to be where they want to go. I've got him going at number 5.
Yeah, I like Paris Johnson a lot. I mean, probably rock solid of a prospect as you can get. For me, if that was my pick and I'm going offensive line, I'm probably going Ola Fashanu, just because I think that his raw tools, I mean, in a weaker tackle class, don't get me wrong, Paris Johnson, Broderick Jones, Peter Skoronski, all those guys are good. And there are some really good round 2, 3 guys, but it's not like classes that we've seen before. I think Fashanu has a real chance by the time the draft rolls around of being the top tackle. But I mean, regardless, I think that's a great pick there. Moving on to the Chicago Bears at number 6. And I also would love to take a tackle here. Reason being is what is it? They have a rookie right now, I believe, playing left tackle, and they have Larry Borum as well. Like, their offensive line is kind of piecemealed together. I would love to get a true left tackle in there, but I'm not. I'm going to switch over to wide receiver, and I'm going to take Quentin Johnston here with this pick.
Yeah, we talked about this. Quentin Johnston is probably the number 1 receiver on the board at this point in time. He has been fantastic. Big receiver, but big outside receiver that runs like a slot receiver. Super athletic, great hands, good body. I think a wide receiver trio of Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, and Quentin Johnston would be a really good pairing for Justin Fields.
I think Johnston goes in there and is automatically the number 1.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be a pick for the Bears. Plus, they've got that 2nd round pick from the Ravens, right?
Yeah,
or no,
right.
from the Steelers. No, I'm confusing myself. It is from the Ravens.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was thinking about the other deal that they did with Roquan Smith and everything.
Mm-hmm. So they could take a tackle there in a, like you said, a weaker class. Maybe you get a guy like Jalen Duncan or Anton Harrison there in the middle of the 2nd round. I think that could be good value. At number 7 here for the Detroit Lions, this is a pretty simple pick. I know quarterback you could go, but Jared Goff has been solid this year. The defense has been horrible. We've talked about this all season long. Their defense has been really bad. Jeff Okudah has been solid, but they still need another corner. And I'm taking Kaylee Ringo here. He has been fantastic. He's looked better the last couple of weeks, had an interception today. But if you look at his numbers, his size, I think he just has everything you want in a cornerback prospect. The Lions should jump on this opportunity to take a guy like him. So I'm taking him at number 7 to pair alongside Jeff Okudah.
Yeah, pretty simple there. A cornerback is a very volatile position in today's NFL. You need as much talent as you can get at that position. Okudah's been good this year, but it's also taken until his 3rd year for him to actually start proving his worth. So I think getting Ringo in there, he automatically slots over to that primary wide receiver matchup, and then you put Okudah as a solid CB2. So that would be a real game changer for the Detroit Lions. At number 8, it is the Seattle Seahawks, another team that is finding themselves in a gorgeous opportunity right now with this top 10 pick. Got to have to go with Miles Murphy here. The pass rushing department has been surprising. Uchenna Nwosu has actually been pretty solid this year for the Seattle. I was going to say the Seattle Mariners, the Seattle Seahawks, but regardless, they do need help on the pure edge, and that's exactly what Miles Murphy can bring. 5.5 sacks has really come about the last few weeks. He is everything that you could ask for in a defensive end. 6'3", I believe, 250 to 255 pounds. He's an absolute beast on that edge.
The only question I have around Miles Murphy, he's not the greatest in the run department. He struggles.
They don't need it. They have Jordan Brooks to clean up. They don't need it.
So I like this pick a lot. You can never have too many edge rushers. He fits super well in Seattle's scheme. I think that makes a ton of sense. And this is why we had Jalen Carter go number 1, because falling to number 9 for them is Will Levis, who some argue is the top quarterback in this class. I think that's ridiculous. As much as I like Will Levis, you know this better than anyone. He's got some question marks still because he's one of those quarterbacks where he's potential. You see the potential there. Hasn't quite pieced everything all together yet. Granted, doesn't have like the greatest team around him. Houston, I think, would be a pretty solid opportunity. They get their franchise guy there. They get a really good defensive line. I think they crush this draft if they land Levis and Jalen Carter.
Yeah, I mean, from a personal standpoint, I hate this pick, and not because you made it, but I think with the first overall pick, and you have your pick of Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, and you end up with Will Levis, you do end up with Jalen Carter too, so it's not all bad. But, you know, those guys, I feel more confident plugging in to the starting quarterback position on day one than I do with Will Levis. I think he's a little bit of a project. He's got amazing intangibles, and that's really all that the NFL looks for nowadays is just amazing intangibles. I agree with you where people say that he's the number 1, quarterback on the board, and I think that is an absolutely ridiculous statement. But nevertheless, I mean, I get it is a good pick. They get their franchise guy, and hey, he's probably better than Davis Mills, so that's always a plus. And you got the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 10. A lot of different ways that you can go here. This is a team that needs defensive line help. This is a team that needs offensive line help. And this is a team that needs a number 1 cornerback. So right away, I mean, they're right in front of my face. You're looking at Peter Scarronza. You're looking at Brian Breesy. In the cornerback department, you're also looking at Joey Porter right now as well. I've gone with offensive line so many times with the Pittsburgh Steelers because they really, really need it. But this is a team that drafts more player than need, I feel like. And right now I'm staring at the board. I got to go with Joey Porter Jr. here. This is a team that has gotten pretty burnt in the secondary department, especially when Minkah Fitzpatrick is not playing. So they need another playmaker in that secondary, and that's Joey Porter.
Yeah, I like Joey Porter again. I think he is CB2 or maybe 3. We'll get to that later, but I think that's a great fit. They do need a number 1 corner. Now, they got William Jackson, but he's not solving any of their secondary issues. Great size, ball hawking corner. I think he would fit really well on a Pittsburgh team that also this is a team that's just built on their defense. That's what they have always been known for. And adding another defensive player could be huge for them. So I do like the pick. Here we are at number 11 with the Detroit Lions, and a number of different ways you could go. Edge rush, you pair another guy alongside Aiden Hutchinson, who's had a fantastic rookie season. You could add some interior defensive line here, help here. Brian Bressee's on the board, Tyree Wilson. I think I am going to go with an edge rusher. You had them take Isaiah Foskey. I'm looking at your guy, Felix, here, but I think it's going to be Isaiah Foskey. He's been playing really well for Notre Dame. I think it fits what they want to do, and pairing Foskey and Hutchinson together just on paper looks fantastic. They need some more guys that can pressure the quarterback, and I like this fit for them quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty apparent that Isaiah Foskey is the perfect fit in a 4-3 defensive end, 6'5", 265 pounds, hand strength, hand placement. He's got it all. I believe he's got 8.5 sacks as well on the season. He's really, really been the defensive catalyst for that Notre Dame Fighting Irish defense. I love the pick. I love the fit. Listen, in today's NFL, it's all about pairing your young star with another young star. You see it in the secondary. You see it on the edge. You see it in the backfield and running back positions as well. I think it's a great pick. Moving on to the Green Bay Packers, this is pretty simple for me. I mean, it's got to be Jordan Addison at this point. Aaron Rodgers can only do so much, especially at this point in his career. I know a lot of people might think that that's a crazy pick because Green Bay just never seems to go to wide receiver. If there is a time to ever pick a wide receiver, it is now, especially with guys like Jackson Smith-Njigba on the board, Jordan Addison, even Josh Downs, who is being very, very sneaky as possibly my new wide receiver 3. I think it's just a pick that has to be made at this point.
Yeah, and I actually really like his fit in this Green Bay offense alongside Christian Watson, who's really come into his own the last couple of weeks. Watson could be more of your deep threat. Addison's more that guy who you want to get the ball underneath, get him the ball in space where he can create his own play. I think those two play styles could really work nicely together. Moving on to the Atlanta Falcons at number 13. Again, interesting spot here, edge rush. Honestly, wide receiver is a position I'm looking at. I don't think I'm going to take wide receiver, but Drake London is really the only guy there at that position. Calvin now gone, but I don't think that's probably the pick they should make here. I think you've probably got to go defense here. I think Brian Bresee is the guy I'm going to go with. They could use some interior defensive line help to pair alongside Grady Jarrett. I like the fit there. Run defense has been pretty solid this year, but adding another guy to that defensive line could really help this team out. So I'm going to add him at number 13.
Yeah, that's a top 8 talent that falls outside of the top 10. So I feel like you got to kind of have to take him there. Another guy that I'm looking at in real life, I doubt that Brian Bresee is going to end up at pick 13. I think Tyree Wilson would be a fantastic fit in Atlanta as well. But a great pick. You got to go with the best player on the board. And honestly, I feel like at this point, he would be the best player on the board. Then moving on, you got pick 14. You got the Arizona Cardinals now. Kind of in a similar situation with the Steelers. There's so many different things that I feel like this team needs. Cornerback is an outstanding need. Offensive line is an outstanding need for this team as well. Now, that being said, this is a team that has also gone, I believe, 2 straight years, they did go 2 straight years with Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins on linebackers. So it doesn't really seem like they draft for need. It seems like they draft a player. And with their seemingly disastrous backfield situation, I'm going with Bijan Robinson on this pick here.
Yeah, I like this a lot, actually. James Conner is notoriously injured, and then out of the blue just cut Eno Benjamin for – there has to be more to that story. That came
There's got to be something. It just doesn't make any sense.
I like this a lot. Bijan Robinson, you just did your video on him, is a fantastic player. Really good running back, good receiving back as well. I think he makes a lot of sense here. They need a running back desperately. With those other players on the board, though, you could definitely argue that they need to take best player available. But you made a good case there, and I do like the fit for them. at number 14. Now my team at number 15, and I have no idea where to go here because offensive line has been an issue. They still haven't fixed that left tackle issue. Bernard Ryman has struggled. They've had so many different offensive line combinations. And I look at the offensive linemen on the clap. Ooh, I forgot he was still on the board. That might be the guy. Wide receiver could be a position you look at, and then you've got quarterback as well. But this is a no-brainer. I am taking Ola Fashanu here.
Yes.
Super young offensive tackle, high upside, and I think he could slot in, be the starter right away, and make a huge impact. I forgot he was still on the board, to be honest. I thought we took him at number 10. Love the fit, and pairing him alongside and could make a really nasty duo on the left side of that offensive line, protecting whoever's starting at quarterback. Maybe you can use some of that draft capital, trade back up into the first round or early second round, take one of these guys, whether it be a Hendon Hooker or an Anthony Richardson, perhaps. I like Ola Fashanu here at 15.
Yeah, I was waiting to see what you were going to do there because obviously Peter Skoronski's still on the board there, and you got, Broderick Jones there too, but he's kind of down. I mean, I don't know if these rankings have been updated within the last couple of weeks, but he's still kind of down there. So I was waiting to see if you were going to notice him there. I wasn't going to say anything until after you made the pick, but
I think you made the right. Lit up when I saw that name.
So. I think you made the right pick there. Then I got the Washington Commanders here, and this pick to me honestly just screams quarterback. But this is also a team that I have a tough time really projecting. We talked about this before we started recording. I have a tough time really projecting where exactly they're going to go. Now, right before we, right while you were making this pick, I was kind of just going through the top two options that I had in my head. And my initial pick was Michael Mayer because I feel like it's just a disaster in the tight end position, especially with Lance Thomas, either catching 4 balls a game or just being on IR every single week, it seems like.
Yep.
I'm going to have to go with Cam Smith here.
This is the pick I've had for a few weeks now.
I'm going to have to go with Cam Smith, 6'4", outside cornerback, battle test in the SEC. He's locking down Jalen Hyatt as we speak right now, someone who's been a revelation at the wide receiver position in college football this year. He's fantastic, and there's a lot of question marks in that secondary on the outside for Washington. I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, this has been the pick I've had for a few weeks now. I have him as my CB2 ahead of Joey Porter. Good size, great ability in both man and zone coverage, and they need a CB1 desperately. St. Juste has had a solid year, but I don't think he's your CB1. Adding a guy like Cam Smith, who I think is second best at his position on the board, makes a lot of sense here at 16. Here at number 17, we got the LA Chargers. Another pick that to me feels like a no-brainer here. I'm taking Jackson Smith-Njigba for the Chargers. He's fallen down my wide receiver rankings just because he's taken a step back due to Emeka Egbuka and Marvin Harrison Jr., who have been fantastic for them. He's still got a lot of really good traits for a wide receiver. And for a Chargers team where Keenan Allen has been in and out of the lineup, Mike Williams is notoriously injured, they don't really have that third go-to guy. Josh Palmer has been fine this year, but I think Jackson Smith-Njigba fits a team need, and I think he's still one of the better players on the board, and I think that's a no-brainer pick for me.
Yeah, I agree with you on that pick. I mean, it's a no-brainer if he's still there. A lot of people's consensus number one wide receiver somehow still. I'm going to have to disagree with that statement, but a fabulous pick. One of those no-brainers that could turn out to be, if he turns out to be like everyone thinks he will, it's going to be an absolute steal at number 17. Then moving on to Cincinnati at number 18. Now, this pick screams Michael Mayer, someone that I just talked about.
Yep.
I'm not going to go with Michael Mayer. I'm going to go with Peter Skoronski. And the reason why is the interior of that offensive line has still been bad. I mean, they signed Alex Kappa. They signed Ted Karras as well. They drafted Cordell Volson. They still have Jackson Carman from the year before. It's about time that they get some real talent in the first round for that offensive line. And I know Peter Skoronski is up there as an offensive tackle, but his game translates better as a guard at the NFL level, and I think that he'd be a rock solid guard in the Cincinnati Bengals offense.
Yeah. Before I go any further, I don't know how Tennessee just lost by 25 to the
Yeah.
South Carolina Gamecocks.
Yep.
Maybe that changes who I pick here at number 19. No, it doesn't really. Here at number 19, we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I feel like this is going to be Brady's last year, right? Right? I feel like it has to, but then again,
Even if it isn't, I still think you got to get someone. You got to get someone.
Yeah. This is a tough pick for me because I think they could use some secondary help. There's some good corners on the board here. Christian Gonzalez has been flying up boards. Clark Phillips has had a really good grade according to PFF, but I really, really like Hendon Hooker's fit in Tampa, and I'm taking him here at 19. Hendon Hooker, I think, is the most NFL-ready quarterback that can just slide in and be an immediate impact player. Tampa's got all the pieces on that offense. They've got the weapons. Now, they do lack a bit of a run game still. I think he would fit really well, be a nice replacement for Tom Brady. Those are going to be some big shoes to fill, but he's also a little bit older on the quarterback side. I think that kind of helps him with a team in Tampa that's still trying to win now. So I'm going to take him here at 19, even though they just got destroyed by South Carolina. But,
I mean, there's really not much he could do. He still put up 38 points and still lost by 25. So, yeah. I mean, he still played well in that game. Moving on to the Tennessee. We were talking about Tennessee, the Denver Broncos at number 20. A couple different ways that you can go here. I mean, personally, I know that you just traded away an edge rusher for a first-round pick. This would be my Nolan Smith pick here, but I'm going to go a different direction. Trenton Simpson also sticking out to me. I'm going to go with Broderick Jones here, though. The Denver Broncos need some offensive line help. It's been really disappointing. They have on paper a decent offensive line. They just haven't put it together yet this year. And I think you need a long-term solution at that tackle position.
Yeah, I agree with that. Here we are at number 21 with the New England Patriots. They need a wide receiver desperately. As much as I like Tyquan Thornton, he's played well when he has played. I think you still go wide receiver here. I'm going to take Kayshon Boutte. I know you've had Josh Downs here. I don't love the pairing of Downs and Thornton. They're both a little bit on the smaller side. Now, I know we've talked about this, but I think you need a bigger physical receiver to pair alongside Thornton, who I don't think is a wide receiver too. He's probably a slot guy. But I think Boutte fits kind of what they need in a wide receiver prospect. And so that's why I have him selected here at 21. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I just think more of a Bill Belichick offense is more centered around the slot receiver. I mean, you look at Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, guys like that, the smaller, shiftier guys. I thought, or at least I think personally, that Josh Downs fits perfectly in a New England offense. But Boutte on the outside, we've seen this year that Mac Jones has been throwing to his outside receivers a little bit more. So it does make sense. I think Boutte is a guy that you look at his production, you're like, wow, how is this guy a first-round pick? It's all about intangibles, baby. He's got the goods. It's just a matter of if he puts it together. And this is a New England team that kind of seems like they don't really care about their picks over the last couple of years. I mean, they drafted like 5 running backs last year and then a quarterback in the 4th round, which actually turned out to be a good pick while Mac Jones was injured. But I can't hate the fit. I would do something different, but I mean, regardless, I think wide receiver is a big need for them. Then you got the Seattle Seahawks with the next pick at number 22. Pretty simple here. Got to go Trenton Simpson. The first linebacker off the board is the best, the absolute best. I mean, the guy flies from sideline to sideline, makes a ton of plays for that Clemson Tigers defense. And I mean, pairing Jordan Brooks with Trenton Simpson just sounds like a match made in heaven. You're going to have sideline to sideline coverage all game long. Those guys' motors never stop.
Yeah. This is your team at number 23. I'm going to give you the Jets pick here, and you can get 24 as well. You're my guess.
Oh boy, a little
Go for it.
solo act here. You know, a lot of different ways at this point that you can go with the New York Jets here. I'm going to have to go with Jalen Duncan with this pick. The reason being is I love Tyree Wilson there. We know that Robert Saleh loves to rotate his defensive linemen, but I think the issue just can't be ignored anymore, regardless of who they have at center. Whether it's Zach Wilson, who is mobile, he's consistently running for his life, or it's Joe Flacco, who is stationary as a statue and just gets drilled. The left tackle position, the tackle position in general, has been a revolving door between four guys, really. Well, 5 or 6, but 4 main guys. You got Max Mitchell, Dwayne Brown, Mekhi Becton, and George Fant. And George Fant is an impending free agent. Mekhi Becton is made out of glass bones and paper skin. I mean, that's my quote that I use every week. I know that you know that. Dwayne Brown has been great, but he's also 38 years old. And Max Mitchell actually was pretty solid at the tackle position for being a 4th-round rookie. You know what? You go out there, you get your first-round talent, you put him at left tackle, you slide Max Mitchell over to the right. You got a pretty good tackle pairing if everyone stays healthy. But the New York Jets need to address the tackle position. Now, moving on to the Buffalo Bills. And I'm going to go with I don't think I've ever made this pick before, but I'm going to go with Antonio Johnson for the Buffalo Bills. And the reason being is his just overall versatility in the secondary. Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde are the best safety duo in the NFL, but they are not getting younger by any means. Jordan Poyer, I believe, is 32, turning 33, and Micah Hyde is around the same age as well. Now, that hasn't stopped them from playing well. Micah Hyde's out for the season, but Jordan Poyer has been fantastic this year when he is healthy. Adding in a third safety that could take some snaps away from those guys could make their careers a little bit longer. You could also put him in as the slot cornerback. I believe Dane Jackson's a free agent this year who has been massive for them. If he is not retained, Antonio Johnson fills a massive need in both the safety and cornerback area.
Yeah, I actually agree with that pick a lot. I was thinking Christian Gonzalez because I think secondary is the issue. It's been the issue for the last couple of years, and it's still an issue. We saw that in the Minnesota game last week.
Josh Allen was actually the issue in that game.
Well, yeah, but they couldn't stop Justin Jefferson in that unbelievable drive he put together. But I think secondary is the biggest need, and I like the pick for the Jets as well. They need offensive line help. Their offensive line has been fine, but they definitely need some help at that tackle position. Moving on to the Ravens at number 25, and there's some good players on the board here for them. I like Nolan Smith. I like Tyree Wilson, but I think they're going to get Lamar a weapon, and I'm going to take Josh Downs here. I like his fit alongside Bateman and Duvernay. I think you could even use him a little bit more as like a gadget player that we've seen. They like to use their wide receivers as running backs and jet sweeps and things. I think Josh Downs, game-breaking speed would be awesome in this Baltimore offense. I think he makes a lot of sense, fits well, and could be a deep threat as well down the field. I've got him to the Ravens at 25.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. I think you bring up a lot of good points. Many ways that they can go, but wide receiver is absolutely the biggest need for Lamar Jackson or whoever is throwing the ball to the Ravens wide receivers. Hint, we don't know about Lamar Jackson. Anyway, moving on. I love speculation. Moving on to the next pick here, you have the Dallas Cowboys. Again, I'm going to mention Michael Mayer for the 3rd time and not pick him. But I think that's a pretty solid choice there. I mean, I don't remember. I know they took Jake Ferguson and they took another tight end in the draft as well, but those guys aren't the answer. Dalton Schultz has been a disappointment this year. Was he under the franchise tag this year? Pretty sure he was.
I believe so.
Yeah, so he's under the franchise tag. Don't quote me for sure. I don't know if they were able to work out a long-term extension, but I'm not picking him regardless, so I guess it doesn't matter. I'm going to go with Christian Gonzalez here. I think you need to get Trayvon Diggs another person to cover wide receivers because it's been hampering them this year. I mean, the Green Bay game was the biggest case study for it. I mean, no one could cover Christian Watson. Don't get me wrong. I think Christian Watson's a good player, but he shouldn't be burning you for 3 touchdowns if you have a Dan Quinn-led secondary.
Yeah, I love this pick. I think that makes a ton of sense. He's been rising up my own draft board. I think he makes a lot of sense here. At number 27 for the Tennessee Titans, this is where I think I'm going to have Michael Mayer selected. We talked about it. He's a really good run blocker, which is what the Titans want to do. They want to run the football. And Michael Mayer provides that, but I think he also provides a little bit more in the pass catching department when they do decide to throw it. Really good receiving tight end, the best tight end in this draft. They used Austin Hooper a little bit, but he's better than Austin Hooper is. I think he makes a lot of sense here, and they need an offensive weapon, whether it's receiver, which maybe they could go Jalen Hyatt here to pair alongside Treylon Burks, which I really like that pairing. Keep the Tennessee kid in Tennessee, but I think Michael Mayer fits a little bit better, so that's why I take him here.
Yeah, I like that pick. I mean, you can't really go wrong. And also, I don't know if you mentioned or not. I'm sorry, I was looking at the rest of the picks there, just kind of mapping out my last couple picks. But he's also the best blocking tight end by far in the entire class. So it just makes a ton of sense for the type of offense that Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans are trying to run. Moving on to the New York Giants, man, oh man, there's only 2 ways I want to go here. And I'm going to have to go with the volatile of the group. I'm going Jalen Hyatt. With this pick.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Rashid Rice is someone who's been flying up draft boards as well, so it could very well be Rashid Rice as well. But Jalen Hyatt is that deep threat that the New York Giants don't have because we've never seen them throw the ball more than 10 yards this season. I mean, you can't blame them because it's just I don't know if you've watched any Giants games, but the Jets were.
My brother's a Giants fan, so Giants are on.
The Giants were on a bye last. The Jets were on a bye last week, and I watched the Giant game, and man, oh man, it was painful to watch that offense work. It was painful. So they absolutely need someone that could blow the top off the defense, and I don't think anyone in this draft does it better than Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah, he did get shut down today, but he
went up against Cam Smith.
This is true. I love Jalen Hyatt, though, as a Tennessee guy. I think he would fit awesome. Slayton has had a pretty solid season. It seems like he's not dropping the football as frequently as he has. Kenny Golladay has been horrible. I like this pick quite a bit for the Giants.
I think that's the worst I think that's the worst free agent signing in NFL history.
It might be. Like I said, my brother's a Giants fan, so we were pretty excited when they got Kenny Golladay, and crickets. He's done nothing.
Crickets.
Here we are at number 29 with the Minnesota Vikings. Another pretty simple pick. We have this in both of our mocks so often. Clark Phillips to the Minnesota Vikings. It just makes a lot of sense. They need cornerback help. Patrick Peterson has been really good. Harrison Smith has been pretty solid as well, but you still need help in the secondary. Clark Phillips, I mentioned earlier, the highest graded corner in college football according to PFF right now. Think that this Vikings team, the only thing holding them back in my eyes, some people will say Kirk Cousins. I don't think so. I think it's the secondary. There's still a lot of question marks. They're injured right now, and they just don't have a true CB2. I think Clark Phillips would fill that need right away, and I've got him here.
Yeah, I like that pick. I said it mostly in my last mock. The only thing that scares me about Clark Phillips being a first-round pick is the size. 5'10", 185 pounds is not ideal size for a boundary cornerback in the NFL because you're not drafting a slot corner in the first round. So that kind of puts me off just a little bit, where I would take more of an Emmanuel Forbes or like a Jalen Jones, someone like that, or even a Devin Witherspoon in that pick. But I mean, you can't argue with the production as well. I'm pretty sure he's got like 7 interceptions this year too. He's been fantastic, and he's a little ball hawk for his size. So I like that pick a lot. This is my last pick of the first round. As you guys know, there are not 32 picks in this year's first round. There's only 31. That's why I usually pick on that 32nd one. I usually pick a kicker or something like that, or like a punter, just to throw everyone off. But my last pick here with the Kansas City Chiefs, couple ways I want to go here. I love Tyree Wilson here. I love Felix Anudike-Uzomah as well. It's tough for me. I do like BJ Ojulari as well, a guy who's really been great so far this year, but I'm going to have to go with Tyree Wilson. I think that Tyree Wilson is an undoubted first-round talent, and as much as I do love my boy Felix Anudike-Uzomah, I don't think that he makes it, at least in this first round. I don't think he makes it. I think Tyree Wilson is a guy who has lined up for Texas Tech at defensive tackle, defensive end, and outside linebacker as a 6'6", 275-pound guy. That versatility is something that I don't think that the Kansas City Chiefs can pass up, especially with Derek Nottie, Caitlin Saunders being free agents, Frank Clark being a cut candidate. I really don't think they could pass up the defensive line versatility.
Yeah, I like that pick. I was trying to figure out if you would take this because that put the Eagles in a position where they could get Tyree Wilson to pair on the inside. Don't think it's a huge need, but I mean.
I was thinking that. I really was. Imagine a defensive line with Tyree Wilson, Jordan Davis, Will Anderson. It's just it would be absolutely unreal. But I think that Kansas City sweeps him up before Philly gets the opportunity.
And they would be smart to do that. I love Tyree Wilson. He is a monster. Here we are at number 31, the final pick of the first round, as mentioned. Very interesting. Jahmyr Gibbs is here. Makes a lot of sense. They could go running back. This is a team that loves to run the football. I also think you could go corner. Their secondary's been pretty good. I think you could go with an Emmanuel Forbes. I still like Garrett Williams, but I think he's more of a second rounder at this point. But I've got to go running back here, and I'm going to take Jahmyr Gibbs, second best running back behind Bijan Robinson. Think he makes a lot of sense with Miles Sanders coming up as a free agent and some of the other guys they've got. They could definitely fill that position, and I like the fit here in Philly. And the last pick here, he said you usually take a punter, so we'll do.
Yeah, I usually take the. I was going to say I usually take the lowest ranked punter. So.
Yeah.
How is that not an F?
Yeah, I was about to ask the same thing. It doesn't make any sense.
And why is it a D+?
Maybe he's a good punter, but not in the first round. We didn't even see the punt god go in the first round last year. So that is going to do it, though, for our first mock draft of this. Let's do this. For our first mock draft of this draft cycle, there will be plenty more to come as we get closer to the actual draft itself. Do you have any final thoughts before we hop off here?
Hook 'em horns, Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, be sure to check out his Bijan Robinson player profile. He does fantastic player profiles over there.
Thank you.
I'll leave his link down in the description below so you guys can go check that one out. But that's going to do it for me in this one. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.
Probably one of the shorter videos.